Hello everyone, welcome to the 12th Lord in all the houses of your chart. The 12th house, the 12th Lord are very mysterious and not very well understood generally. So many deep secrets are going to be revealed in this video to help you with this interpretation. For sure, 12th house is foreign lands and expenses, but did you know that this is a house that actually gets you married? So much to be revealed. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. And if the video is good for you, give it a thumbs up. Let's begin. Firstly, everybody who are the house lords in Vedic astrology, you should understand that many signs have more than one lord, and you will need to check both to understand your destiny from that house. Secondly, we are using sign for a house system where a whole rasi or sign is contained in each house. This is most important. If you should attempt to use an equal house system, it just won't give you the correct result. The Lord of Aries is Mars, of Taurus it's Venus and the Moon. For Gemini it's Mercury, for Cancer the Moon, for Leo the Sun, and for Virgo it's Mercury and Rahu. For Libra the Lord is Venus, for Scorpio it's Mars and Ketu, for Sagittarius Jupiter, for Capricorn Saturn, for Aquarius Saturn and Rahu, and for Pisces Jupiter and Ketu. Another important understanding is how do you judge the results of any house in your chart? Strongest indication are given by the planets in the house. First and foremost, check the videos on my channel showing you results of planets in houses in your chart. The next most powerful factor are the aspects to the house, especially when there are no planets in the house. Planets aspecting by sign and site, that planet will give you the result of the house. And finally, it's the Lord of the house, the Bhavesha, what I'm discussing in this series, that will give you the result of the house. Don't forget, all three have to be considered equally in this order of importance. But for those who have rarely no planets in the house nor any aspect, the Bhavesha gives you the total story. So the Vayesa, everyone, is the Lord of your 12th house. The 12th house, just like the 6th and 8th, is a Dusthana house, and people have a lot of fear about the house and even about the Lord. Is this misplaced or is there some truth in it? Let's just really understand this house a little bit before we proceed. The 12th house is the furthest house away from the ascendant itself, and therefore it is what is hidden to you, what is directly behind you, what is outside of your awareness. Often people think of this as the actual house of foreign land, which it is, because it is the 9th house from the 4th house of home. So foreign residence can be seen here. But it's a house of loss, the house of loss of self and everything related to self. So foreign residence itself in the ancient times was not a favorable thing. It was a terrible thing. It was the actual loss of yourself, because ascendant is your birth home, and you have lost the birth home when you go to the 12th house. Saturn is Karaka here, and he's come to claim back the debts from our past life. They come as losses in this life, opposite to the 6th house of our debt. And it is the house of renunciation and sacrifice. It's the house where we leave this life as well, because it is the 12th to the 1st. It is our actual state after death. It is the deathbed, but the marriage bed also, and our general place of sleep and rejuvenation. So how well do you rest? How well do you meditate? How well do you sleep? And how compatible are you with your spouse intimately? It's all shown by the 12th house. But it isn't just sexual compatibility. 12th house itself has got a lot to do with marriage. Planets here are actually taking you to the marriage altar. That's another factor. We won't consider that today. But one thing for sure, 12th house is the most intimate space that we share with anybody. So it's very important actually in not just finding spouse, but keeping marriage alive, keeping relationships strong. An afflicted 12th house is very difficult, very challenging for the 8th house away, which is the marriage. But on the highest level, 12th house is a house of the rishis, the house of the pure connection to God. 9th house is religious system, formal religious system, guru. 12th house is beyond all that. 12th house is the heart of the religion, the actual connection to God. The natural 12th house sign is Pisces, ruled by Jupiter and Ketu. Jupiter is the pure spiritual wisdom connecting us to the Supreme, and Ketu is the key. Ketu holds the key that takes us out of this material bondage. Ketu is the key to liberation, the key to moksha. Therefore, 12th Bhava is known as the freedom house, the liberation house, but let's be very practical here. The truth of it is that for most of us, this 12th house freedom, it's got nothing to do with moksha. That would be for people who are renounced, people who are sannyasis, people who are dedicated to God, monks, nuns, etc. Because at least they are moving towards moksha on a real level, giving up the Rahu materialism. And even of those who are on that path, very few will obtain the complete liberation from material bondage, especially in this Kali Yuga. So what can we say is the freedom? What is the liberation that applies to all of us in the 12th house? It is seen in the opposite house. We want to be free from disease, free from sickness. We can never be free to live our life when we are sick, when we have disabilities, when we are ill. Let's face it, the real freedom any one of us seeks is freedom from disease, freedom from illness, which more than anything else restricts us in this life. Which is why 12th house is associated with the places that free us from those situations. Hospitals, asylums, and of course prisons, freeing us from our own shadrapus, 6th house, from our own bad actions. So prisons, asylums, hospitals, special schools, addiction centers, all of these are shown by the 12th house. The 12th house takes us away from the whole bustle of society. It's the time alone, contemplation, reading, meditating, peaceful time alone. Not on the internet. That's not the 12th house. That's the 3rd house. 12th house is definitely where we can be alone and connect inwardly. So for spiritual people, 12th house is absolute bliss. For materialistic people, it can feel like a prison. Now, very briefly, everybody, before I move on to look at the actual Vyesa himself and what he's going to do in your chart, it's important to briefly look at the planets in your 12th house. They will deeply impact you. Planets in your 12th house, any graha, including Rahu Ketu, will most definitely have to be given up. Any graha in this space will not act materially in a successful way at all. You will have to renounce it. You will have to give it up. Otherwise, the energies of that planet can be almost toxic in your life. They have to be totally transformed. Now, what do I mean by this? Do I mean that that planet 12th house in your chart is not going to be important in your horoscope? Far from it. It's going to be very important indeed. But the significations of that planet, either from your own chart or the natural significations of that graha, will never work materially ever. Every time you try to make it work on a material level, it will either elude you or cause disastrous situations in your life. So the 12th house graha has to be transformed, has to be used on a spiritual level, or as I say, it will cause very difficult and even damning situations for some people. It will trip you up at every moment until you learn the lesson. Let's quickly go through the planets. If the sun is in the 12th house, he's in a Marikasthana position, a weakened position anyway, you must give up ego. Every time you get on your hobby horse, try to be the big person, get attention for yourself, you will trip yourself up. You must serve. You must not try to lead so much. Yes, you may get position of power by many other factors in your chart, but it's a service leadership or it is nothing. And of course, father issues may be difficult. Now, moon in the 12th house, by the way, benefics can be helpful. 12th house, you have to feed others, nourish others, and having children helps to deal with these karmas. You have to be giving that nourishment outwardly. If you get into feeding yourself, overeating, overindulgence, over emotional reactions, it becomes very negative indeed. Mercury, 12th house, you must try not become so materialistic. You must try definitely to not become manipulating business-wise, using money, secrecy, not paying your taxes. All these things backfire terribly. Tell the truth. when you have Mercury in the 12th house. Venus 12th house, you are connecting to God with your love nature. What does this mean? That you can't get married? No, but you're going to have to serve the spouse, and the spouse will never be the ideal you are seeking. Be less critical, be more helpful. Mars in the 12th house, you've got to drop the temper. You've got to drop the anger, which is unconscious, but always bubbling up. Your anger is so strong, you may even cause accidents to yourself unwittingly. Stop the argument. Stop the contention. Jupiter 12th house will give you the pure spiritual wisdom and knowledge. But here's the thing. What do you do with it? If you put it in your pocket, lock it away, forget about it, you will forget it actually. You will lose it when you most need it. You must give it out. You must spread it far and wide. You must be a teacher, guru, guide to others. Saturn 12th house, you can be very disciplined, very rigid, very hardworking, but a little too demanding. Demanding of yourself as well. Loosen up a bit. Do not be too demanding of other people, too critical. Be more patient. Otherwise, you can find yourself in a really isolated position. Rahu doesn't like to be in this 12th house. He feels like he's in a prison. You will often feel like that sometimes, but you must avoid the Rahu activities to get yourself out of any stuck situation. Avoid cheating, manipulation, behind the scenes activities, anything unethical. If you do not, it can be very serious for you. Be careful. Have the highest ethics at all time when you have Rahu 12th house. Ketu, however, loves to be in this 12th house. He will give you plenty of time alone, plenty of time for isolation, meditation, contemplation, but you may not like it according to other factors in your chart. Do not lose the opportunity given by this Ketu 12th house. Do not lose that time alone. Learn to meditate. Go inwards. Be spiritual. If you do this, if you enjoy this time alone given to you, whenever it is in your life, you will grow spiritually and your material woes will be considerably lessened. Back to the Vyasa, the 12th Lord. What will he do in your chart? Everybody, wherever he is. What will he do to the house where he goes? Let's be honest here. He will not create a good situation there materially at all. It can be like a tornado, like a tsunami has come into that house. It isn't just that he brings loss into that house. That's a very surface view. What he does is he basically messes it up. He smashes it up materially, that you just don't know what to do with that area. It seems to have gone completely out of your control. And any planet in any house which is conjunct the Vyasa 12th Lord will also be in a critical situation, be in a crisis situation very often in your life. This all sounds a bit scary, doesn't it? That this area has gone so much out of control. But the good news, this is the house of the Rishis. Vyasa carries the power of the Rishis. They're not concerned about your material satisfaction, any of us. They are concerned to give us the higher wisdom that is really our highest good. So wherever 12th Lord has gone in your chart, and don't forget some of you may have two 12th Lords, check the beginning of the video to be certain, those areas need to be surrendered. When we surrender them to God, when we stop trying to manipulate the area, make it happen, force our personal will there, a transformation takes place, and actually we get some of the highest satisfaction there. It's a transformation which is necessary because of past life karmas. So accept the difficulty, accept the trial, accept the hammer blow to the house, and you will actually find that it is simply taking away what is never going to work for you and giving you something much better and much more satisfactory in return. However, on a final note, Vyasa damages certain houses a little less than others. Which are they? They are the houses for which Jupiter is Karaka, because Jupiter carries the energy of the Vyasa as well. So the 2nd house, the 5th house, the 9th house, the 11th, Jupiter is Karaka for these 4 houses. And so when Vyasa 12th Lord is in these houses, he is a little easier on you. Just something to note. Before we go on to the readings, everyone, just a quick note on foreign residence, because I feel that many of you may ask about this. Yes, 12th Lord is connected to foreign lands, 12th house, but how do we see foreign residence in a chart? Here are the main indications. Firstly, the 4th Lord of home in the 12th house is a very strong indication. Secondly, 4th Lord of home in conjunction to Rahu, wherever they should be in the chart, because Rahu indicates foreign lands. And sometimes Vyasa, 12th Lord himself, in conjunction to Rahu, or Rahu having aspect onto the 12th house. Those are the main indications, but it is not exclusive. Nonetheless, look out for those in your chart. But certainly happiness, foreign lands, and the condition in foreign lands has a lot to do with the 12th Lord itself. How to use the readings. We must have a Vedic horoscope. Do not use a Western tropical sign horoscope. It will give you the wrong house lords completely. Check at the bottom of my description box to a website, Devaguru, to bring up Sidereal Vedic chart if you do not already have it. And don't forget, very often you will have more than one Vyasa, more than one 12th house lord. Again, check the beginning of this video to see which planets lord each of the signs. So when the Vyasa, the 12th lord, has gone into the first house of your chart, your expenses are coming onto your head. Well, what does this mean? Well, it means that you like to spend money, basically. You spend a lot. You're not really a saver mostly, although other factors have to be seen. Generally speaking, you don't hold on to money. If it's a good planet like Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, this is okay, because basically you replenish what you lose. You're a very charitable, giving person, and this is a good thing. But if it's a malefic 12th house lord like Mars, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, or it is conjunct to one in your first house, there is definitely more difficulty there. You can have financial difficulty. Financially, dealing with expenses can become troublesome for you. But there's a good side, as I say, because generally you become spiritual when you don't spend too much attention on your financial affairs. It's a case of not letting financial worries take you over. 12th house is what you worry about. You can worry about your finances all the time, feeling like they've just gone out of control with an afflicted 12th lord in this first house. And especially benefic 12th house lord in this first house, you actually can calm down many of your worries and concerns through meditation, through spiritual practice. It's something that you should take seriously. You can be quite a secretive person though, because 12th lord is what is hidden, and there's something about you which is hidden. People can find you difficult to get to know because 12th lord is in first house. You always seem to have an agenda, or you always seem to be holding something back about yourself, one or the other. People find it hard to get to know you. The third house away from this 12th lord is the third house itself. You can have difficulty with your siblings, difficulty keeping in touch with them, particularly younger siblings. You could become apathetic dealing with them, have no drive to communicate with them. So try to write this if you can, because you need their support, even though you often don't have much motivation there. You get very emotional and reactive and to do with fourth house affairs. So when you have to move home or make any property dealings, you don't do it smoothly, easily. It's a big thing for you. Where you live is a huge emotional factor for you. It isn't just something simple at all. Relationship with your mother is extremely sensitive for you. She could have been very, very close to you, or she could have been lost to you because it is far away from the 12th lord. Somehow there is some deep emotional reaction to your mother. It is not always an easy relationship. 10th away from your 12th lord are the karmas of this 12th lord, where you may lack confidence, where you may simply have a fear of failure. Two ways this can actually manifest. Some people, you just don't push yourself forward. You are very, very slow to get career success. Late career success may be there. For other people, you are consistently pushy, really overcompensating for this inner fear. And this is also another way that you do get success, but you have to understand that this pushiness may cause some disturbance. 12th Lord is opposite to the house of relationships. Important to understand this. You may put a lot of effort into your relationships, put a lot of, let's say, dream power. The ideal factor is what you are desiring here. But when it doesn't happen like that, you become intensely let down, intensely disappointed. But very simply, 12th Lord looking at 7th house, you have to have a service attitude, 12th Lord, towards relationships. You have to be serving partner, helping the partner consistently, putting ego aside. So with this attitude, relationships survive. Without it, it becomes very challenging. Something else I've often seen is 12th Lord, 1st house. You can have long distance relationship, or you can have relationship with somebody in a completely different country to yourself, because that is what 12th Lord represents. When the Vaisya 12th Lord has gone into the 2nd house, it's clear something's going away in your income. It's being taken away from you, or it's difficult to accumulate income. There's something going on with your spending power as well that is not controlled. The principle here is about ethical values. 12th house is the actual house of rishis, of the highest values. So if your wealth comes from anything questionable or unethical, anything which involves any harm to other living beings, for example, all of these things, it will not remain with you. However, if you spend on charity, if you spend on good factors like helping family, 2nd house, you will maintain and increase your wealth. It's about basically not clinging on to things, not being selfish about wealth in your life. If you are, as I say, charitable, helping family members, being always giving, then 12th Lord will not harm your 2nd house. Of course, the 12th Lord is about secrecy, so becoming secretive, becoming devious about your wealth, all of these things will not have a good result. But the 12th Lord's gone 3 houses away, giving you talent, giving you skill. Parashara talks about happiness here, virtue being here. It all depends what you are doing with your income, though, whether it works for good or ill. Watch your speech as well. 2nd house is about spoken word. 12th Lord here, make it helpful to others. Don't have devious, underhand, or some sort of motivation in your speech. Anything such as that will quickly backfire. But the Lord of Last going into 2nd house of early nurturance, some of that early nurturance, early childhood experience gets disturbed. 3rd house away from 12th house Lord is lack of motivation to perform, some feeling of apathy. Apathy towards early childhood home, early childhood place. Maybe you will just leave it completely behind. You just can't find connection to it. Or you have difficulty in connecting to the mother. Sometimes, occasionally, that may be seen. And the 4th away is the house where you become super reactive. Education, you become super reactive in your learning experience. You may have a lot of impatience learning and just very, very emotional reactions to learning experience itself. You are deeply affected by children. Sometimes there are no children, occasionally by this 4th aspect from the 12th house Lord, or you become super reactive to your children. You have to try to calm it down. Where do things get taken out of your hands? It's 10 houses away in the 11th house. 10th house from the Vaisya. You cannot make things work perfectly here. So your income, which is this 11th house, goes up and down frequently. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's just not working at all. You should surrender to God here. Don't try to push things too much. Whatever is meant for you income-wise comes to you, flows to you when you stop worrying about it so much. Same goes for your friendship network circles. Friends come, friends go. There is a constant change in your friendship circle, which can cause you feeling of insecurity. Once again, surrender this. Don't let it get you down. When the Vaisya, the 12th Lord, has gone into the 3rd house, Parashara talks about no support from your siblings. This can be younger siblings particularly. This can definitely happen, but it's about pushing for it, hoping for it, making it happen. Try to be a bit surrendered, a bit detached from the sibling relationship, then it all works so much more easily. You become very self-willed when the 12th Lord Vyasa has gone 4 away into this angular position from himself into this 3rd house. This is the natural house of Mars. You have to be careful here. You can hold grudges sometimes. You can be very motivated by looking at what people have done towards you. You have to be careful about this. It can harm many relationships in your life, not just sibling relationships. Be very careful with your communications, with your speech, with what you commit to writing actually, or put in the media in any way, internet, etc. by this 12th Lord 3rd house. It can come back to haunt you sometimes, something to be aware of. 3rd away, you can lose motivation. This is children, particularly in a male chart, losing motivation to bring up the children because you don't feel they are listening to you in any way. Particularly one child, there can be some real difficulty there. Avoid losing interest in your learning as well. You have a deep understanding, a deep ability to learn because 12th Lord is about intuition and deep knowledge. He's gone 3rd house. You have skill here, but you become apathetic towards formal education. You have to try to avoid this. Now, when this 12th house Lord has gone 4 away, you like to travel, you like to be on the move, but the opposite house is the 9th house. You may have disturbances in foreign lands, foreign cultures. It just doesn't always go smoothly. 9th house is also house of religion. You have conflicts here. You're not sure about which religion is the right one for you. You're interested in all faiths, all religions, which is not a bad thing at all, actually. You can have a deep spiritual wisdom because 10 houses away is the 12th house itself. You may have quarrels, disagreements, and all sorts of issues with your father because 12th Lord opposes 9th house. You have to learn your own values, your own purpose in this life because 10th away is 12th house. You have to go within into your deep intuitive self and learn to find what really matters to you. You need to learn to meditate, be quiet, have time alone. It calms down the mind and helps you tremendously in this life. When the 12th Lord Vyasa has gone into the 4th house, it's like a storm has come into your home environment. Early home environment can be disturbed, can involve some loss. Relationship with the mother can be troublesome. She may have issues. There can be loss involved or some disruption to the bond. Mother's relatives, maternal relatives are also just not available to you or just don't help you in the same way. Check where the 4th house Lord has gone. There may be some mitigating factor there, don't forget. And if Jupiter gets involved, that can help. That can tone down this difficult factor. Because the Lord of Loss has gone into the house of home, property, landed interest, be really cautious about buying, selling property, landed concerns, etc. There can be loss involved at some point. People think the 12th Lord gone into 4th house means foreign residence. That's not the case, not necessarily in itself at all. Because check what I've said at the beginning of the video where I specifically spoke about foreign residence. Check if those factors are actually happening for you. What will be strongly impacted by the 12th Lord is your career. There can be great difficulty finding career, finding what you should do in life. You can become lost. You can try things, leave them, try something else, going round in circles with your career progression. You become deeply affected by this career disturbance and sometimes you become very reactive to it. Very important not to let this happen. 12th house Lord is the actual Lord of sacrifice. So you have to sacrifice something that you wanted to do career-wise and you will find something better for yourself. Sometimes you don't find correct career path until very late in life. And career path will involve helping others, serving others because 12th Lord directly opposes. And of course, you have to make sacrifices for your family. This is your biggest karmic debt here. It can be difficult. You can find this takes a lot of your energy, a lot of your time, but it is something definitely that you will have to do. And having a home, making a home for your family is incredibly important karmic debt for you to pay. What's behind a lot of your difficulty with this Vyasa 4th house is that the 10th house away becomes ascendant. So you lack belief in yourself. You lack confidence in yourself. You lack a real feeling that you can do the things you would like to do in life. Once again, time will improve this without doubt. When the Vayesh, the 12th Lord, has gone into the 5th house, it's challenging when you have children, particularly in a male chart, because 5th house represents children, male chart. In a female chart, you should check 9th house pregnancies as well. However, don't fear, because Jupiter is natural karaka for the 5th house. As I said beginning of the video, 12th house Lord 2nd, 5th, 9th or 11th, many of the 12th Lord Vyasa implications are toned down. What you will have to do, though, is to sacrifice for your children. So be prepared to do that. And this can be a very karmic and actually productive relationship in your life. It's spiritually a very productive position because 12th Lord brings in knowledge of the rishis into the house of spiritual wisdom. So you get over time tremendous spiritual understanding, deep intuition, mantra, meditation, all sorts of ways to connect to the Supreme. Do not lose the opportunity. One thing be very wary of. This is the actual Lord of loss. He's gone into the house of financial speculation, and 4th away, where you get reactive and emotional, is the actual house of stock market and such financial gambling. Financial gambling, financial risk taking can be very iffy indeed when you have 12th Lord in the 5th house. Please take note of that. It's an overall difficult position for business people, I have to say, because 3rd away, where you become apathetic, is the actual house of marketplace business. You can become apathetic, lose motivation, lose faith in your business opportunities or in your business partnerships. Business partnerships become difficult to maintain. It's not so hard for relationships where you are cooperative and serving the partner, which is not a bad thing. Because the karmas of the Vyasa, the 12th Lord, are actually happening in the 2nd house, 10 houses away, the karma here is where you have to surrender everything. Don't become worried about financial security. Don't have sleepless nights, 12th Lord, about your financial future. Surrender everything to God. This is where you have to totally surrender effort and karma. 2nd house. You will get what you are meant to get this life. Nothing more, nothing less, which is actually true for all of us. But many of your financial worries and concerns will be completely removed when you have this surrendering attitude. When the 12th Lord's gone 7 to himself to the 6th house, you must be really careful. Many difficult situations are coming from past life karmas, tempting you into not very happy situations, particularly in relationships. It's important to be honest, open, and not devious or in any way underhand in relationships. If you are, you're going to find that these karmas hurt you very, very badly. It's because the 6th Lord is in the 7th house, which indicates, the 12th Lord is in the 7th house, which indicates relationship situations. This is a house of Mars and Saturn. So when the 12th Lord Vyasa has gone here, you got a really sharp temper. You can get easily agitated, have many competitors, have many legal factors coming into your life, many quarrels. Workplace situation is never happy, never working out simply for you. It isn't even your fault because 10th house away from this 6th house becomes the 3rd house. So you just find it impossible when you get into legalities, competition, conflicts. It always seems to not work well for you. 3rd house is siblings as well, so you can have difficult struggles with them as well. It's a house of your health. You can have health upsets as well. What can you do about this situation? Well, the first thing, you must purify the house. I strongly advise you see the video on my channel, 6th Lord, all houses, so you can see where the 6th Lord is and consider the Shadrapus of that Lord, because they are what are definitely going to cause you some disruption, and the planets in the 6th house. Purifying 6th house, 12th Lord becomes happy, and so many karmas will actually be removed. You see, 12th house Lord here is the Lord of hospitals, Lord of special schools, asylums, prisons, working there, serving people in these large institutions can give you so much happiness. You are here to serve, not to criticize. So basically, when your highly critical nature is calmed down, and that includes criticism towards yourself, you become a very high servant of other people, particularly in medical matters sometimes. And it's a house of small animals. You can help them, serve them as well. Having an absolute life of dedication to service removes many of these difficult karmas, gives you satisfaction in so many ways. When the Vaihesha 12th Lord has gone into the 7th house, you can be sure it's going to bring you some problems in relationships, because this is the actual house of the rishis. They're only concerned to take you to spiritual wisdom. So through relationships, you learn some big spiritual lessons, actually. Watch out for those. And because Vaihesha 12th Lord has gone 8th to himself, you will feel that there are many crisis situations developing continually in your intimate relationships, even in your self-employment business. It's up and down all the time. Of course, it's very, very possible that your spouse is from foreign land, distant shores, etc., or that you have to go there to meet a spouse sometimes. For the full picture, you must see 7th Lord, all houses, and the full condition of the 7th house. One thing for sure, because this is a house of service, Vaihesha going into this 7th house, you have to have a service attitude towards a spouse. You have to be patient, you have to be forgiving to get the best in any relationship situation. Sometimes you may have financial losses in connection with your spouse or your intimate relationships, something which you just have to go through. If you are a business person, however, business partnerships can be difficult to maintain, and self-employment as a whole can be challenging. There can be many fluctuating market factors, many losses there. Sometimes far better to be employed in some cases. Third away is the 9th house. You may have difficulty with your father, become apathetic about the whole situation, relationship, and higher education as well. You can lose enthusiasm, just lose interest in the course. 10th house away is the 4th house of home. Here there are many karmic factors, once again, you cannot control. Best to leave all this to the Supreme. Don't fuss about it. Don't make a big effort to find this perfect home, perfect domestic situation. Just let it flow. The less you stress about domestic situations, the easier they will always become. When the Vaihesha 12th Lord has gone into the 8th house, he's gone into a Dusthana house. This Dusthana Lord in Dusthana house is known as a Viprit Raj Yoga. Now, to understand more about these Viprit Raj Yogas, please check the video on my channel, 6th Lord, all houses. On that video, I've talked extensively about this. But of course, because the Vaihesha, the house of the Lord of Loss, has gone into the house of critical transformation, there will be many sudden transformations, changes in your life, depending on your chart. There could be loss of home, loss of job, loss of spouse, loss of position, loss of health, things that just happen quickly and completely change your life into another situation. However, Sage Parashara talks about getting back what you've lost when you have the 12th Lord, 8th house. This means that every time you have a great transformation change in your life, you change with it. You become somebody different so that you absorb the loss and you start afresh in a very, very positive way. Maybe because you are used to these sudden changes, sometimes in your career you don't push out too much. You can lack enthusiasm, motivation, become a bit apathetic about career sometimes. By this, I do not mean that you do not work hard. You can work very hard. But people may say to you, why don't you do this? You could push yourself into this. You could get more money doing this, that, and the other. You just ignore it all. You just like to go with the flow here. And maybe that's not a bad thing. A very emotional area, though, becomes your earning capacity. You get very upset if there is loss of earnings in any way. Sometimes you overreact to this. Try to calm down about this. Become less less worried about it. Why? Because 7th away is a house of resources. You become very worried about long-term future security financially, when actually you are just best to go with the flow with this as well. You can have many changes in your friendship circles, network circles, and these can become disturbing to you. You become very reactive around friends as well. Once again, try to calm this down. You may also lack faith in your own creative ability, because 10 houses away is the 5th house. Once again, don't push too hard. Don't be too hard on yourself. You can do good self-employment with this 12th Lord 8th house if you just don't push out too far and definitely don't take too many risks. It can be a steady source of income. When the Vyesa 12th Lord has gone into the 9th house, it's one of those positions that is quite fortunate in that some of the more difficult situations about 12th Lord's placement can be removed. You see, 9th house, Karaka, is Jupiter, and Vyesa energy is Saturn and Jupiter together. So Vyesa is about the search for spiritual wisdom. It's a house of rishis. So going into this 9th house, religious system is important to you. But because this Lord of Loss is here, you may have initially in life a great struggle to find system of religious belief which you can fully conform to or even fully trust. You may have many struggles. You may have struggle with your father's family's religion sometimes, and even with father himself. There can be some loss, some difficulty there, but you are searching all of your life for this wisdom, and you will never give up the search. You may have some contention with your teachers, gurus, even mentors, and many disputes, difficulty there. But once again, it's a true, honest search for you. You may follow many different religious paths, because in the end, you realize that all religions ultimately come from God, which is true. But beyond philosophical thought and religion, this is a house of Dharma. So 12th Lord here, you have to follow Dharma. You have to follow righteous action. All of your happiness, fortune in life will depend on this. With the Vyesa in the house of higher education, there can be losses, disruption to your education sometimes, run-ins, as I say, with your teachers, mentors, etc. But nonetheless, you should continue with this. You have wisdom to gain in this life from whatever quarter. When you travel, when you go into foreign lands, there can be disruptions, difficulty, because especially 4 houses away is the 12th house itself. Therefore, you can become very emotional, have some difficult situations to face in these foreign lands. Because the 7th away is the 3rd house of siblings, you may have disagreements with them also. The thing is, you get into lots of disagreements about opinions, about philosophy, about religion. These are the things where you clash with other people. And the 10th away is the 6th house. It's really best for you to avoid all contention, litigation, quarrels, competitions as much as you can. As soon as you put yourself into these competitive situations, you will feel at a loss, like you just can't deal with it, which is a good enough sign that it's not meant for you in this lifetime. Step down from quarrel, litigation, contention as much as you can do, and content yourself with your philosophical and spiritual wisdom, because this is what you have come here to gain. When the Vyesa has gone into the 10th house of your chart, it's very similar to having Vyesa in the 4th, 1st and 7th. It's in a Kendra house. Therefore, the childhood time of your life, opposite here, 4th house, can be difficult. There can be losses, stresses during your childhood when you have the Vyesa 12th Lord in the 10th house. Now, the Vyesa in the 10th house will not deny you career success, but it will make your career go through many patchy phases. Sometimes you get really fast success, prominence, notice, applause, and then you just simply want to run away from that. Or you do something yourself which stops it continuing. You just feel this need, if it gets too successful, to somehow get away from that, because 12th Lord is not about material success, material happiness, and so something in you is never completely satisfied, no matter how much career success you get. So you might, for example, get the absolute job of your dreams, career you've been looking to have, success you've wanted, and then find that it's not what you really wanted at all. This can frequently occur. The thing is, with this 12th Lord, 10th house, ego satisfaction will never give you happiness in your career. Whatever you do, whatever your deeds are, 10th house is your karmic deeds in the world, it should have a definite service attitude. You must bring spiritual wisdom, spread spiritual wisdom. You must spread something spiritual, something higher than mundane reality. If you are working in 12th house institutions, for example, like hospitals, prisons, asylums, that is superb. Otherwise, you must always give service in your job or it will never satisfy. Now, 10 houses away from the 12th Lord is the 7th house, relationships. You can have difficult relationship situations developing that you just feel out of control with. Once again, you must be surrendered here, which is 10th from this 12th Lord. You can never control fully. Same goes for business, marketplace opportunities, etc. You fully can't grasp them. Business people can have difficulty here. You need a very understanding business partner if you are self-employed, because sometimes you just can't deal with these marketplace fluctuations. So sometimes, once again, it's a position where you may be better employed, but not always. Check 7th house Lord, 7th house to be sure. Now, when the 12th Lord Vyasa has gone into the 11th house, he's gone 12th to his own house. It's one of the more favourable positions because Jupiter is the Karaka, in any case, of the 11th house. So we have the loss of the losses, loss of the expenses. We have the loss of the secrecy, though, as well. You get very involved in your friendship network circles. That's the one place where you have to be the most cautious. Financially, though, it can be helpful. No matter how much expenses you get, how many losses financially, you replenish them. You always find a new source of income, and this can be good. You're very sensitive about your early family situation, which may not have been smooth, of course. There may have been some nurturance differences or difficulties, and some family situation which was not harmonious. But generally, this aspect shows that you are very sensitive about family. Family is important to you, and your financial security, though, causes you concern. You don't need to be. 12th Lord in this 11th house will replenish your losses. In some way, what you lose comes back. One thing to be aware of, though, is that 11th house are your friendship network circles. 12th Lord here can show some difficulty there. You should check who you associate with closely. You have many shifts in your friendship associations, and sometimes some of these friends can actually cause you losses. In fact, who you associate with can make or break your life in so many ways when you have 12th Lord Vyasa in this house. You may think friends are your friends and then find they are not. You may think some friends are not your friends and actually find they are true friends. You are not judging friends very well when you have 12th Lord, 11th house. Apart from general friendships, 11th house is your colleague circle in your workplace. Be very cautious here. 12th Lord, 11th house. Be careful what you divulge to your colleagues. Sometimes you could be betrayed. You could be misled. You could get yourself into some deep water. Just something to be aware of. And finally, 11th house is the community house, local community, wider community of human beings. So when you have 12th Lord here, you need to be of service there. You need to have at some point in your life a service attitude towards your community. When you have this, you will burn many negative karmas and once again secure gains and happiness in your life. When the 12th Lord is in his own house, his own sign, this is interesting. He is in his own sign, so strong tattva level, very strong place planet. He will contain your expenses. You may have many losses, many expenses by many other karmas in your chart, but 12th Lord, 12th house, you will contain them. You will minimize them always. Now, depending what the planet is, you may minimize them by being a little bit stingy, by holding on to things, or being very austere, not buying too many things, being quite, let's say, able to do with less. Sometimes you'll be like that. On the other hand, giving to charity regularly and letting go of your wealth in this way is an actually good thing to be doing. 12th Lord, 12th house will encourage you in this. Our 12th Lord in his own house will make the 12th house very strong in your life. This sense of needing to go beyond society, go into isolation, be alone, seek the spiritual truth, will be something that is always extremely strong in your life. Sometime in your life, because 12th Lord is in his own sign, you may have a lot to do with places connected to 12th house, foreign lands, definitely, but also hospitals, asylums, prisons even, hopefully working there, and definitely places where people get cured. It's a great position for service to other people. In fact, a fantastic remedy for afflicted 12th Lord, 12th house is to go into these institutions, hospitals, etc., and give service there, voluntary work, etc. It's a great way to completely burn off these karmas. But depending on karmas in your chart, you yourself may have to spend time in these places, hospitals, prisons, even asylums, according to individual karmas. This is all part of the 12th Lord becoming strong here. He demands that you experience these situations, paying back past debt. Now, every 12th Lord, 12th house can enjoy time alone, but especially Malefic Lord, you sort of push yourself into this isolated position. Time and again, you'll see it happening. 12th house is outside of society. 12th Lord here, particularly once again malefic, Rahu, Ketu, Saturn, Mars particularly, but sometimes benefic. You end up a little bit away from society. I don't mean that you're going to go to live in a cave or something like that, but you will spend a lot of time alone. You will find that even when you have a very busy life, lots going on, marriage is there, job is there, children is there, still you will find that you are pushed into circumstances where you find yourself a little bit isolated, a little bit alone. But it's a good thing, remember that. It's not a bad thing though. 12th Lord, 12th house, you get strength, you get replenishment, you get an inner sense of renewal when you are alone. Now, the third house away from the 12th Lord here becomes the second house. So 12th Lord, 12th house, you become a little bit apathetic about family. It's really hard to keep connections family-wise, and you even become apathetic about your own moral values sometimes. That is very important that you do not do so. The fourth house away becomes very important. It's a house of your communication. You become extremely emotional in this fourth from the 12th Lord Vyasa here. You may have many emotional confrontations with your siblings and many emotional confrontations when you are communicating. You can't keep emotion out of your communication, and it can get you into difficult situations. A very important house becomes the 10th house away, the 9th house. This is where karmas just won't work anymore. 10th from the Vyasa. This is where you have no control at all. So father may have health issues. Father may be difficult for you to connect to occasionally. Finding a religious system which will totally satisfy you seems to elude you. But in the end, you go within. In the end, you know that all religions come from God, and you get to the heart of that deep connection to the Supreme. It's a house of higher education. Once again, you may have many higher education degrees, get a good education, but 12th Lord 10 away here, you can expect that you will not use all of them. All of this education in the end, it just doesn't give you what you expected it to give. That can be there, but it doesn't mean that you should not pursue the education. You will still definitely get benefits from it because the 9th house is Jupiter house and 12th Lord is just like Jupiter. And by this aspect, you will have many foreign journeys, many journeys to foreign lands, definitely even some of you foreign residents. But will it work out? Not exactly as you expected, because 12th Lord, 12th house, your journey is within. Your journey is to the depths of your soul. You don't need to go anywhere at all to make that journey. It can be done right where you are right now. Remedies for the 12th Lord, everybody, are so important. We have to go to Vishnu because this house is a Vishnu sthana. This is the home of Lord Vishnu. So when your 12th house Lord is malefic or associated with malefics, you need this remedy, especially in Mahadasha of that Lord or any planet associated with the Lord. This particular mantra is given by Parashara. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 12-syllable mantra for the 12th house. Chant this at least 12 times at dawn and 12 times near to sunset. Do this as much as you can. If you are having sleep problems, if you are having restless nights, as you lay down at night, turn to Lord Narayan. The mantra is Om Namo Narayanaya. It's a beautiful mantra. As many times as you can, lull yourself to sleep with this beautiful mantra. Check out the other videos on your screen right now for the Lords through all houses. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now and God bless everyone.